Welcome to this Modern India lecture series. In this lecture, we are going to take chapter 2 of Bipin Chandra, Indian States and Society of the 18th Century, and this is the part 2 of it. Part 1 we have already taken. In that we have discussed Hyderabad and the Bengal region. In this chapter, we are in this part 2 section of this chapter 2, we are going to take Awadh, Mysore and Kerala, and then we will move forward with the Maratha kingdom and all in the different sections. Okay, moving ahead to this lecture, I will request you to please go through this video till the end so that you will have a complete picture of it. Further, I will request you to please subscribe this channel. This is a new channel, so I really need your support. Awadh. First we are going to take Awadh, that is the part 1 section. So as your Hyderabad was through the Nizam and Bengal was through your Nawab. Okay, Hyderabad was through the that Nizam ul Mulk, that Nizam ul Mulk, and your Murshid Kuli Khan and Aliwardi Khan for your Bengal regions and all. So similarly for this Awadh we had Sadat Khan, Burhan ul Mulk, and after that Safdar Jang. So these two people were responsible for peace of the region. So it was like they do not want to be involved in the region of war. Okay, so most of the cases it was like they used to make a alliance with the party, like for the Maratha. So they had made alliance with the Maratha by paying some amount so that they will get a security for the further repercussion from their side, or incursion to their region. So it was like they maintained peace for their entire Awadh region. And further they had the administration sections, the secularity. It was like they followed the same principle as the Bengal was followed. So even in their court, Hindu and Muslims both were treated equally, and further it was like Hindu were given high officials or the ranks or the mansabs in that era in their court. Okay, so overall the Awadh was a balanced region where peace deal was continuously taken, that the peace was maintained, and the only reason behind the peace for the Awadh region was the Sadat Khan and your Safdar Jang. Okay, so and as we knew that Jamindar and your Jagirdar. Okay, so both were very powerful during that time, and they used to check those also. So the peasants of their regions who were responsible for giving the mansabs to the mansab, who were cultivating on the mansabs, on the jamins and all, on the fields. So they were getting security from these kings. Whatever the ill practice were done by these jamindars and jagirdars were being protected by the kings and all. Okay, and further if somewhat it happened like jamindar and jagirdar used to collect high revenues, high revenues, and they do not pay that much to the king. So the king was like, whatever I have said you have to collect it, and the amount that we have said you have to return it. So these were like a strict administration was there, and they used to check all those things. So Sadat Khan Burhanul Mulk was the founder of Awadh. That was done in the 1722. Okay, and he increased the finances of the administration by taking strict action against Jamindar. So for all the regions, for all the states, the only issue was the Jamindars and Mansabdars. Jamindars and the Mansabdars. Okay, and he made a strict action against the Jamindars and all, so that the collections will not be taken cruelty on the basis of cruelty, and it was not like that they used for the self consumptions and all. If you are collecting, you have to give money to the militaries and all, you have to pay back to kings. So these kind of rules and regulations were there. Okay, so the administration was very strict, and he was an extremely that the king himself was extremely bold, energetic, and admirable and intelligent person. Okay, similarly we will see for the Safdar Jang as well. Okay, so the fights happened between the jamindars and the chieftains, but they were not replaced once they agreed to put their land revenue regularly. So it was like, if you are agree to pay the tribute or pay the revenue to the whatever the collection has been made, if you are agreed to pay to the king, then there is no issue. If you are going against it, then there will be a repercussion from the king side. Okay. Further, he carried a fresh revenue system in the 1723 with some modifications and all, but overall it was like the Mughal administration system only. And further, he protected the peasants from the operations by the big jamindars. So that was a very plus point, where he protected the uh, peasants, like when the tax was collected from in cruelty. Let us suppose there was a famine kind of situation for a particular year, and in that year also, if zamindars used to take all the cultivated products, and also in that situation kings was there, this Sadat Khan Burhanul Mulk used to protect those kind of peasants and all. Okay. Similar to Bengal, as I've said, secularity is important feature of 18th century India. 18th century means 1701 to 1800. Okay. So secularity was the important feature of whole 18th century. Right now I'm telling you about Awadh, but for the whole 18th century, secularity was the main feature that right now we can't see in most of the regions, but in country is secular only. It's not, don't take it as a political way. So the more secularity was present, and it was especially seen more deeply, more intense in the village areas. So village areas was like, even the Muslim people used to celebrate Holi, Diwali with the Hindu neighbors and all, and similarly Hindu used to celebrate Eid and all. Okay. So similar to Bengal Nawabs, he also did not discriminate people based on the religions. Hindus were also given the present high officials, and his administration was efficient. Troops were well trained and paid, and he continued his Jagir system. So Jagir system is nothing but there will be land will be called as your Jagir, and there will be one official that will be appointed to collect the tax or the revenue from whatever the cultivation has been made through Jagir. And who works on that Jagir? That Jagir means nothing but field. Who works on this Jagir? Peasants work on the Jagir. Okay. So the official is known as the Jagirdar. So similarly, if you replace Jagir from Jameen and Jagirdar from Jamindar, no, everything is same. Okay. So before his death, as he started to rule in 1729, before his death, Awadh was made virtually independent succession from the Mughal and the successive state. So in the part one only, I have said that Hyderabad, your Bengal and Awadh were those three states that were formed through succession, that they got independence through latter, but it was formed through the successive manner only. So it was like successive manner means what? How we said, like he was the successive king after that. So it was like one king died, after that his son or nephew who is there who became the king. So it is like his successor. So similarly, Mughal Empire was there and new state formed. So later that Mughal Empire declined and this state started to emerge as an independent one. But it was not like that they directly declared them as an independent and all. No, in the starting they accepted the supremacy of Mughal. Okay. It was like yes, if you have any contradiction, the Mughal rule will be applicable, and else it will be like our own decision. Okay. So after his death, he made Awadh completely independent. As we know, Mughal started to decline after 1707 only, and it is 1739. So Awadh was made virtually independent and succession became hereditary. So it was like after the king was the Sadat Khan Burhan Mulk, Nawab only, nobles only. So after that, when he died, Safdar Jung came into the play for the rule. And Safdar Jung was who? Safdar Jung was the nephew of the Sadat Khan Burhanul Mulk. Okay. So Safdar Jung became the became the emperor, and earlier he was the wazir in his court only, in Safdar Jung court. So, and similar like Sadat Khan also gives peace to the Awadh. Okay. So similarly, Safdar Jung also tried to give a long period of peace to the people of Awadh and Allahabad. And before the death of 1754, after that we will see there was some treaty signed for the Allahabad and all. So those are the separate section we will take. Okay, so a peace deal of people Awadh and Allahabad before 1774. So suppressed rebellious jamindars made an alliance with the Maratha Sardar so that his dominion was saved from the incursion. So as you know, if there is success people, then there will be your enemies also. So the Maratha and all started to collide together, started to make a group together against the Awadh only. Okay, so this happened. So but till 1754, then till he ruled, so it was a peace for the Awadh. Okay, so Safdar Jung won the loyalty of Rajputs and Sakjads. So it is something that, as said, they always had a secular kind of policy, no discrimination based on the religions and all. Okay, and the plus point, if you see in the Mughal time only, in the Mughal administration also, they used to appoint Rajputs. They used to appoint Rajputs because they had a very fine fighting skill. Okay, so Kshatriyas and also they have a very fine fighting skills, and whatever the soldiers, militaries, most of the skills was the people who were recruited, they were from the Rajputs mostly. Later we will see that the people will from that Nepal side and Gorkha, yeah, Gorkha they called it. So later we will see all those things from Biharis also, they were used to appointed, and also in the Biharis also Rajputs are there, but especially Rajputs are for the Rajasthan, so main origins. Okay, so the Safdar Jung made a very good relations with the Rajputs and the Sakjas. Sakjas is, you know, a tribe in the Baluchistan, so that they will have a good military power and they will have a good contact with the religion. So if whenever it is required, these people will be there for the help, and further they will have a security for the incursions from their end. Okay, so he carried a warfare against Bangash Pathans and the Rohillas in the 1750 to 1751, and he secured the Maratha military help by paying a daily allowance of rupees 25,000 and Jat support by paying 15,000 daily. So as it was said that he Safdar Jung made a very very hard labor in the part of giving peace, to the region. So how they give the peace? So there is one example again. So he secured, like, see, Maratha was what, we will discuss all those things in the Maratha kingdom lecture. So it was like Maratha always tried to to ruin a particular region. So it is like they were in the southwestern part, in the Maharashtra regions and all. Okay, but they started to emerge into the Mughal Empire. They reached till Delhi. They even the Deccan also, they were in the region. So it was like they had expansionist policy. Okay, Maratha kingdom, but the problem was the Maratha was that they did not have a unity, and that's why Maratha failed to become a pan India empire. Okay, so to get security from their side, he secured to pay Maratha military by paying rupees 25,000 and the Jat support by 15,000 daily to them. Okay, so to get a security from them. So later he entered into an agreement with the Peshwa for the Maratha kingdom. So like in Mughal there is something called noble. Okay, in Maratha there is something called Sardar, and in that Maratha only, so you will see Peshwa and all. Okay, so these things were problem for all those administration, because of these divisions only, this section only, there were disruption in the Mughal also, in Maratha also. Okay, so as in Mughal the power was it was seen that the king doesn't have that much of power. The power was mainly lying to the noble. Similarly, there was a scenario with the Mughal also. The power was in the hand of Sardar or the Peshwas. Okay, so later he entered into the agreement with the Peshwa, where he will get from the Ahmad Shah Abdali, that from who plundered and all, who looted also. So for getting security from the Ahmad Shah Abdali, he joined the hand with the Peshwa, and further to get protection from the internal rebels, that is from the Bangash Pathans and the Rohillas, and further Rajput Rajas also. Rajput Rajas, see, it was like Rajput were also have an expansionist policy. Expansionist policy, like they were not under the hands of Mughal also, and they were not, they were trying to rule independent also. So sometimes they used to hand with the Britishers, if you see in the latter section. So it was not like that all the Rajputs belongs to Mughal, all the Rajputs were independent. No, some Rajput section joined hand with this Raja, some Rajput section joined hand with that king. Okay, so that was the situation with the Rajput. The only thing, no unity. So in return, Peshwa was to be paid rupees 50 lakhs and granted chauth for the regions of Punjab, that the region of Punjab, Sindh and several districts of northern India, and made the governor of Ajmer and the Agra. However, this agreement ultimate failed. The reason of failing of this agreement was that the Peshwa joined hand with the enemy of that Safdarjung, and it was promised to give him a Allahabad. It was promised to give him a Allahabad and Awadh. Now Allahabad is your Prayagraj. Okay, so this greediness, he cancelled this. He revoked this agreement, and he joined hand with the enemy of the Awadh, that is Safdarjung. Okay, so the Lucknow, if you see, now we will see the societies and all. So Lucknow culture prospered around his court only. So the arts, cultures, the paintings and all, we will see that all those things emerge into the Lucknow regions, and further they got spread till Delhi and all. So Lucknow culture prospered around his court. He has an equitable system of justice where Hindu Maharaja Nawab Rai was at the highest post. Okay, Lucknow rivaled Delhi under its art in 1775. It is also developed as an important center of handicraft. Safdarjung maintained very high standard of personal morality, and all these life were devoted to only one life. So the point is that not only Awadh king, the founder of your Hyderabad, that is the first Nawab, first Nizam, founder of your Bengal, that is the first Nawab, your Awadh, all people were of high morality. So it was like they had only one wife, they lived simple life, not luxurious life. So there was a thinking for that region for the 18th century that nobles of this 18th century were tried to live luxurious life and tried to oppress the peasants and all. But these rulers proved it to be wrong, because they were a person of high morality, where they ruled for the people. They removed such laws that were against the peasants and all, such cruelty laws, cruelty decisions taken by the jamindar. They took action against the jamindars and your mansabdars. Further, in the pattern we will see that they have made chowkis, thanas and all for stopping the plunders and all, robbery and all. So those things were taken actions by those regions. So that's why these kings were the high morality. So this type of questions can come, that how can you say that Awadh, Hyderabad and the Nizam's king, the founder, were of the high morality? Okay, so this was the point. So as a matter of fact, all the founder of three autonomous kingdoms, Hyderabad, Bengal and Awadh, namely that Nizamul Mulk, the Chin Kuli Khan for the Hyderabad, Murshid Kuli Khan for your Bengal, Murshid Kuli Khan and Alivardi Khan, both, but the founded by the Murshid Kuli Khan, and the Sadat Khan and the Safdarzung, so both here for the Awadh. So were the men of high personal morality, and they proved to the fact that a lie that the leading nobles of the 18th century led extravagant and the luxurious life. They proved this statement wrong, and this can be asked in the exam. Okay, now we are going to take the Mysore, and in this section Hyder Ali, then we will take Tipu Sultan, where we will see that Anglo-Mysore war will be there. First Anglo, second Anglo, third Anglo, fourth Anglo. In that, in one section Mysore won, in another section they lost, and in the fight only we will see that Hyder Ali died. After that, Tipu Sultan continued the war, and after that Tipu Sultan also died in the fourth Anglo-Mysore war. Okay, so this was a small introduction for this Mysore. Next to Hyderabad, below only, Karnataka regions right now. So next to Hyderabad, the most important power emerged in the South India was Mysore under Hyder Ali, and the kingdom was independent since the end of Vijayanagara Empire and had been nominally a part of Mughal Empire early in the 18th century. Two ministers, Nanjaraj and Devbara. So it was like the Nanjaraj who is ruling. We will see that this Nanjaraj will be that is fall down, and the Hyder Ali will set on the throne. Okay, so Nandraj seized the power of the Mysore, and the king Chikka Krishna was made a mayor puppet for that. So it was like King Krishna was settled on the throne, and they were controlling those things. So it's similarly like the nobles and all. Okay, so this was also under the touch by the Mughal, where the Deccan has a control. Like, see, central Mughal authority had control over your Hyderabad, that is the Deccan region, and then the Deccan regions had a control over this Mysore. So indirectly, but at last they all made it independent. Okay, so Hyder Ali in 1722, Awadh king made Awadh was found. So Southern Kingdom was founded the Awadh in 1722. So similarly, in the case of your Mysore, he born, not found. So Hyder Ali was born in the 1721 and started his career as a petty officer in the Mysore, and he was not educated. But the mind, the decision, the diplomatic way, the way of thinking for the diplomacy was great. Okay, so the Hyder Ali was born in the 1721, and he had a career as a petty officer in the Mysore army, and regularly he emerged into the army as the high officials. He trained his army with the Western equipments. He trained the army with Western armies, Western fights, decisions. What decisions? That from he learnt from the technology from the Western countries like your Europes and all, and he implemented those things here. So even the clothes part was we will see in the Tipu Sultan in the case. So clothes part were also introduced, better clothes equipments and all were introduced through them. Okay, though the Hyder Ali was uneducated, he possessed a keen intellect and a man of great energy, daring and the determination. He was a brilliant commander and a shrewd diplomat. Diplomacy was a great high. It was not, that's why we used to see our leaders are maximum uneducated. Okay, but they have a great diplomacy. They are great diplomat. They are ruling the country. They are leading the country, the states and the states and the countries as well. Okay, so there is no requirement for leader. There is no requirement for education for being a leader. Okay, so Hyder Ali found his opportunity in the war, which involved Mysore for more than 20 years. He made himself a very important personality. He started gradually started to emerge into that small section. He became a great. He became a military leader for that regions. He trained his officials with the Western things. So cleverly using the opportunity, he rose in the Mysore army. He recognized the advantage of Western military training and applied those into his troops. Under his command, he became the commander of his troops. He established a modern arsenal with the help of French experts. So as we will see, India had a connection with, from ancient time, India had a connection with the Greek. Okay, but later we will see it was found with the Portugal and the Spains. They both together found to join found for the India the different route for the India. But in Columbus first started his voyage for the search of the India, but accidentally he found America. And after that we will see that Vasco da Gama had found the India, and through the Cape Town of the Africa, through the Africa regions, he voyages in the ship, and they came to India in Calicut region, I guess. Okay, so these things happen, and the India was found by them. And after that, French experts and rivalries, they also started to come, and they started to establish their regions and all for that region. And French were those people apart from the trade, they have officials as well. Okay, so with the help of French, they established a modern arsenal, well equipped military clothes and all. Training from the Western military training, he gave that training to his to his troop. Okay, so that was the reason when the first Anglo war happened, they won. Okay, so in 1761 he overthrew the Nanjaraj and established the authority over Mysore state, extended full control over the rebellious polygarchs, that convention of the warriors, the chieftains and the jamindars, the control over the rebellious polygarchs. They had a control because the influence was jamindars and the chieftains had influence over the regions on the peasants. So he took away the took control over them and conquered the various regions, including the Malabar region, which was the source to control over the Indian Ocean. Okay, so here the Malabar regions and all. Okay, so he practiced religious tolerance, same secularity was followed. So he practiced religious tolerance and introduced Mughal administration revenue system, same like the Jagirdars and the Mansabdars and all. Though he was illiterate, but he was a good administrator and made Mysore as one of the leading Indian powers. Okay. Now when we go for the Tipu Sultan, he was one step ahead, and he was a very brave person. And the famous statement for the Tipu Sultan is that better to live a day as a lion than a lifetime as a sheep, and that's why he died in the 1799 by the fighting. He did not made his head down, and he loved to be killed. He loved to be killed in the war on the place of accepting the defeat. Okay, so almost from the beginning he was engaged, that I am talking about right now, he is Hyder Ali. So almost from the beginning Hyder Ali was engaged in the wars with the Maratha Sadars, the Nizam and the British. So it was like, see, Karnataka, if you see that regions, so these regions, and here is Hyderabad. Okay, so they had a conflict every time, and here is Maharashtra. Okay, so maybe my location will little bit here and there. This is Maharashtra region, this is Hyderabad region, and this will be your that Mysore and Karnataka regions and all. Okay, so they always had a rivalry, but Maratha had a policy of expansionist, and Deccan had like Deccan believes that this Mysore is under their control, it should be under the Mughal. So that's had a rivalry. So that's why the Nizam had a contradiction with this Mysore, and the British always had a, because French had French had a control over those regions, and British always had a conflict with the trading. They had a competition between the French and the British East India Company. So that's the British did not like that. Okay, so this group was formed, and he was engaged in continuous wars with the Maratha, the Nizams and the British. So in 1769 repeatedly he repeatedly defeated the British forces. Why? Because had a Western trade practices, Western his troops were trained with the Western tactics. Okay, they got the Western training. Okay, so they defeated the British force and reached the wall of Madras, and that happened in the first Anglo-Mysore war. And in this, Madras government suing for the that they had an agreement, they signed one deal that is known as the Treaty of Madras was signed, and in that Madras was given to Mysore. Okay, after that he died in 1782 in the course of second Anglo-Mysore war. This Hyder Ali died in second Anglo-Mysore war, and it was continued by whom? It was continued by Tipu Sultan. Okay, so and after that Tipu Sultan similarly continued for the third Anglo-Mysore war, and the fourth Anglo. In the fourth Anglo he also died. Okay, so he died in 1782. This Hyder Ali died in the 1782 in the course of second Anglo-Mysore war, and the war was succeeded by his son Tipu. And after that war ended with the Treaty of Mangalore. In that Treaty of Mangalore, it was like, whatever things happen, we will forget it. The place will be the similar like as happened with the before the war. So it was like, if the administration was collected by this king, so this administration will be collected by this king. If administration was collected by the B king, so the administration will be collected by the B king. If that region is under A country, so that region will be under the A country. So it was like whole situation will be before, like will be same as before the war. So that deal happened in the second Anglo-Mysore War. Okay, so war ended with the Treaty of Mangalore, which restored the status quo antebellum. Remember this term, status quo antebellum. Status quo antebellum means situation as before war. Okay, so this happened in the second Anglo-Mysore War, in which Hyder Ali died and the Tipu Sultan continued the war, and in that status quo antebellum was restored through the Treaty of Mangalore. Okay, and in the third Anglo-Mysore War, Mysore lost the war, and in return he had to surrender most of the 50% of the kingdom to the British East India Company through the Treaty of Seringapatam. Okay, and this only Seringapatam, he then again in the fourth Anglo-Mysore War, Tipu tried to overcome on that region, and after that he lost that war. Okay, so who is Tipu Sultan? So he ruled Mysore till his death at the hand of British in 1799. He died in 1799. Remember this date? This date can be remembered, before 1800, 1799. So, and was a man of complex character. Okay, so he was an innovative personality, introduction of a new calendar, new coinage, new scales of weights and all. So he had that kind of technical thing, science, and so he had a touch with those aspects. Okay, the introduction of new calendar, new system of coinage. It was not like Hyder Ali. Hyder Ali was uneducated, but he was diplomat. He was a great diplomat. But this scene was not with the Tipu Sultan. Okay, so introduction of new calendar, new system of coinage, new scales of weights and measures show the desire to change time. His personal library has a diverse book collection including religion, history, military science, medicine and mathematics. He showed a keen interest in the French Revolution as well, and that's why he planted Tree of Liberty and he joined the Jacobean Club. Okay, so that was the most influential political club during that during that industrial revolution, that the French Revolution that done in the 1789. Okay, so he joined that club as well. Okay, and he had a very good relation with the French. That's why British did not like it. Okay, because there was always competition between the British and the French. So he tried to give away the customs of Jagirs, because Jagir was collected with huge cruelty, and there was like Sardesh Mukhi, or the Chauth was collected. There is a Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi, nothing but 25%, whatever you are cultivating, 25% will be taken, or the 10% more, 10% will be taken. So that concept will come under the Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi. Okay, and it was seen that when Tipu Sultan died, it was seen that British came to know that the peasants' condition was very good when they compared the peasant condition during into their region. So they were surprised to see that how they managed, and it was managed only because Tipu knows, if you want to rule any country, if you want a good military power, if you want to have a prosperous state, the only thing you have to take care is the revenue. And the revenue, it's not like that collected with cruelty. The people should be prosperous, and then only your militaries and all will be prosperous. We will see in the coming slide. Okay, so he tried to give away the custom of Jagirs and thus increase the state income. He also made an attempt to remove hereditary and the oligarchs in the case of Jamindars and the Jagirdars. So it was like that, if my father is a Jamindar, then his son will also be Jamindar. So he removed those things. He attempted to remove, but it was not removed completely, but he attempted to remove those things, and he eliminated the intermediaries between the state and the cultivator, that Dalal, in Hindi it's known as Dalal. Okay, so although his collection was a high compared to the other contemporary rulers, but he used to check the collections of illegal cases, and he was and liberal in the granting remission. So the point is that the kind of restriction, the kind of strictness that he followed, the kind of the customs to removing the Jagirs, collection of Jagirs and all, made increase the collection of a state very high. Okay, even though he used to check the state for the illegal things, he was earning more than the other states, but even though he used to check, like, there should not be any corruptions and all. So that's why, to make sure, he knew that I am collecting more, it means like everything is almost right. But even though he used to check the illegal cases and the liberals for their regions. Okay, so his infantry was prepared from the European fashions, same as the Hyder Ali did, training from the European troops and all. Similarly, he prepared the Europeans in the European fashion, but the clothes were ready in the Mysore only. But all the things, equipments, the body protections, equipments, and all, so those were copied from the Western things, but they were being ready, being made, being prepared in the Mysore region. So he made an effort to build a modern navy in 1796, and in that he learned from the French. And it was said that the boat of 18th century of India was very good, and British learned from the technology, the equipment, how to make a structure, architecture, and all. British learned from the India in the manufacturing of boat. So he made an effort to build a modern navy in 1796, and in personal life he was free from luxury as usual. So most of the people, that Hyderabad and Bengal, all those Nawabs, Nizams, kings, were free from the luxury equipment. And he was fond of saying that as the better to live a day as a lion than a lifetime as a ship. So however, he was a hasty in action and unstable in nature, and died in fighting in the Srirangapatnam. So see, the problem with the Tipu was that he used to take decision very quickly and forcefully. So it was like a full energetic kind of person. He was not a great diplomat kind of thing. So if you see, diplomacy doesn't mean that every time you have to kill someone or you have to force someone to go away. Sometimes you have to step backward also, but that thing Tipu doesn't know. That's why he used to tell, better to live like a lion than as a lifetime. So it was like in the 1799, British gave him the opportunity to surrender. Let us suppose if he was a diplomat, he will surrender and later he will again attack the British, because he know all the tactics and all. But no, he is like, I will not surrender. I will fight till the last breath of my body or breath of my life. Okay. So that was one thing with the Tipu. So he died in the 4th Anglo-Mysore in the presence of the belief, and English looked upon him as the most dangerous enemy in the India. Okay, because they had a connection with the French. British looked for the Maratha as well, but Tipu, when he grew, they took it as a very dangerous thing because they had a contact with the French and all. Okay, so Mysore flourished economically under Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan when it was compared with the rest part of the country, other and all. Okay, British occupied Mysore after defeating killing Tipu in 1799. That was done in the 4th Anglo-Mysore War, and they were surprised to find that the peasants' condition was more prosperous than the peasants present in their estate. That's what I said in the earlier only. Further, the Tipu grasped the benefit of the modern trade and industry. Among the Indian rulers, he understood the importance of the economic strength as the foundation of military strength. He made attempt to modernize the Indian industries, India, by importing exports. So he made connection of India as far as Arab, Greek, China, Indonesia, West Indies, East Indies. Indonesia was known as the East Indies at that time. So he sent his missionaries to the different states to have a trade relation with them. So he was very good in business strategy always, and that's why the state was very prosperous that time. The spices and all were exported from that region. Okay, so he attempted to modernize the industries in India by importing and extending the state supports to many industries. He sent missionaries to France, Turkey, Iran, Pegu, Myanmar to develop foreign trade. He also traded with China. Further, he tried to promote the Russia and Arabia by setting up institution in the port towns. So at the port stations they set up the offices for them. So thus the people of those regions used to work there. Although he was orthodox, so that too much strictness towards his religion, but he was tolerant as well. That's why we said secular. Okay, yes, he was orthodox. It was like, I believe my religion, but I respect your religion as well. That is shown by the word tolerant towards other religion as well. He gave money for the construction of various temples. He was harsh to those Hindus and Christians who directly or indirectly connected with or helped to the British or the Mughals and all. Okay, but it was not harsh to the Muslim. Remember one point. But don't go to that much deep. But yes, it was secular. He had a tolerant policy, and he was harsh toward the Hindus and the Hindus and the Christians who had a connection with British against Mysore. Kerala, the last state. In the beginning of the 18th century, Kerala was divided among large number of feudal chiefs and the rajas, and the four most important states were your Calicut, Chirakkal, Cochin, Travancore. So you will see that Hyder Ali had captured till Cochin. Okay, so when he tried to expand its Mysore and all. Okay, so the kingdom of Travancore rose the prominence after 1729 under the King Martanda Varma. After that, it will be taken by what is the name of that king? Ram Varma. Okay, so the successor of the Martanda Varma will be Ram Varma. Okay, so the King Martanda Varma, he was a personality of strong determination and courage and daring. Not important, but you can remember it. And he ended the political power of Dutch in Kerala. So it was like there had influence of Dutch in those regions. Okay, and he made his through the fights, through the extension policies of its court and all. He made a power. He removed that political power of Dutch was almost removed and settled. He defeated them, and he modernized his army with the Western powers. Why everyone was focusing on the modernization? If we see for the India part, these regions, these Maratha, these Mughals, they did not bother about the Western part, Western countries, because they did not have the connection like with the French and the Portugal. They had a connection, but not that much. Okay, but the South India regions, if you see, they all focused upon the modernizing their weapons on the Western things. Okay, so they tried to modernize their weapons and the technologies as well, but it was not at that much extent, and that's why those regions we will see that sometimes they won against the British as well, because they have a modernized weapon. Okay, so modernization of the army in the Western power, including construction of modern arsenal. He moved northward with the army and extended till Travancore, soon from the Kanyakumari. So till from Kanyakumari to Cochin, he increased the regions and all. Okay, so if you see the regions, so okay, so he increased his influence for that region, and he undertook many irrigation work, built roads, canals, communications, and gave activity encouragement for the foreign trade. Okay, and further this created a job for that regions as well. So by 1763, all the petty principalities of Kerala was absorbed by three big states. Later it was that was Cochin, Travancore, and Calicut. And as I said in the earlier only, so Hyder Ali, when he expansion his invasion for the Kerala in the 1760s, so he touched it till the part of Cochin. Okay, so further 18th century, that saw a remarkable revival on the Malayalam literature. If we see, yes, Malayalam literature was at peak, and it was at very good condition. When we reach the social condition all, we will see that Urdu was at also great peak, was at very high space, and people used to love it. Even even Muslim people used to write poems and all in the Sanskrit. But in the case as the Urdu emerged, similarly Malayalam literature also picked up during that time, during this 18th century, that is 1701 to 1800. Okay, so the remarkable Malayalam literature, Travancore became the famous center for the Sanskrit scholarship. Ram Varma, the successor of this Martanda Varma, that is, so I forgot that name only, Martanda Varma. Yes, Martanda Varma was himself a poet, scholar, musician, renowned actor, and a man of great culture. He conversely fluent English, took a keen interest in the European affairs, and regularly read newspapers and journals from the Calcutta, for the London, Calcutta, and Maratha. So it was like they had a connection with they knew whatever the things is going in Western part. They knew almost, not that much, they knew like what is the British East India Company, what they want and all. Okay, so they were aware of the Western part, unlike Mughals. Mughal didn't knew about that, what these British East India companies and what they have done in the Africa and all, slave things and all. Okay, so those things we will discuss in the part 3. Till now, I hope you have liked this video. Please like and subscribe. This is a new channel, I really need your support. Thank you.